The match runs 2 hours and 43 minutes, the longest of the entire day at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells. Eala saves the match point. She claws her way back into the third set, and when she finally closes it out, the stadium does not just clap, it erupts. Because the crowd inside that arena is not the usual Indian Wells crowd. It is packed with Filipino flags, families who drove hours to be there, and fans who stayed out in the cold past midnight, just to watch one player compete. Here is why that crowd exists in the first place. 14 months earlier, in March 2025, nobody outside hardcore tennis circles knew her name. She walked into the Miami Open as a wild card, an outsider with nothing expected of her. And then she did something that had never happened in the history of the Duta. She beat Jelena Ostapenko, a former French Open champion. Then she beat Madison Keys, a Grand Slam champion in her own right. And then, in the quarterfinals, she walked onto the court against Iga Swiatek, world number 2 at the time, and beat her too. 3 former Grand Slam champions, 1 wild card, 1 tournament. That result alone rewired how the tennis world looked at her, and it rewired how an entire nation looked at tennis. Rewind further, and the story gets even more specific. At just 13 years old, Eala left the Philippines and moved to Mallorca, Spain, to train at the academy built by Rafael Nadal, one of the greatest players the sport has ever produced. She was not a headline name back then. She was a kid with talent and a long road ahead of her. Years of quiet, unglamorous work followed, the kind nobody posts about, before that Miami breakthrough ever happened. And along the way, she became the first Filipino player in history to win a junior Grand Slam singles title, taking the girls' championship at the 2022 U.S. Open. By March 2026, that unglamorous work had turned into a career-high ranking of world number 29, the highest any Filipino player has ever reached on the WTA Tour. She arrived at Indian Wells seated 31st, and by then the pattern was already impossible to ignore. At the Australian Open earlier that year, her opening match was assigned to a small outer court, and fans were left standing outside, unable to get in. Weeks later, at the Dubai Championships, her matches were selling out entirely, turning outside courts into standing room-only events. Tournament after tournament kept underestimating exactly how many people wanted to watch her play. And tournament after tournament kept getting caught off guard. So when she walked into Indian Wells, one of the biggest non-Grand Slam events in the entire sport, the surge was already building. California is home to one of the largest Filipino-American communities anywhere in the United States, somewhere in the range of 1.5 to 2 million people statewide. That is not a number describing how many people packed into one stadium. Eala turned 21 years old this year, and she already beat Grand Slam champions, won a WTA title, and became the most searched Filipino athlete on the planet. But somewhere between her rise and her fame, thousands of people started calling her overrated, annoying, or worse. The real reason behind that hate has almost nothing to do with her tennis, and everything to do with what happens when a country falls in love with one athlete too fast. Start with the love, because that part is easy to explain. In 2026, Eala beat Jessica Pegula in the final of the Washington Open, and became the first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour singles title. She lost the first set 4-6, won the second 6-4, then closed it out 6-0. Tournament staff later said at least 80% of all ticket inquiries in the weeks before the event were people asking one question: when does Alex play? That is not normal demand for a 21-year-old ranked outside the top 20 at the time. That is a nation moving its schedule around one player. A few weeks later, she landed in Toronto for the National Bank Open. Tickets for her matches sold out in under 30 minutes. The stadium seats over 10,000 people, and it was full. Her original court only held 2,800 seats, so organizers moved her match to center court because demand for her alone had crossed 5,000 ticket requests. The tournament even added Filipino chicken adobo to the menu for the first time in its history. Tournament director Carl Hale called her an absolute blessing to the sport. American player Andy Roddick called the phenomenon Alamania on his own podcast. Nike signed her at age 14, long before she had a WTA ranking worth talking about. By 2026, she was reportedly the highest-earning Filipino athlete of all time, with prize money alone reaching 54 million pesos, and endorsement value projected by Forbes to climb toward $3 million. She has sponsors like Babolat, Globe, Bank of the Philippine Islands, and Milo Philippines. She beat multiple Grand Slam champions in one season, including Naomi Osaka and Elena Rybakina. This is a player who did everything right. So why does she still get hate? Here is where the story stops being simple. Some of the criticism is not really about Alex at all. It is about hearing her name everywhere. A fan can genuinely like a player and still get tired of seeing that player in every headline, every comparison, every unrelated tennis post. That is not hatred. That is fatigue. Her fame grew so fast that her name started showing up in conversations that had nothing to do with her. And repetition changes how people react, even to something good. Then there is the crowd problem. Tennis has strict unwritten rules about silence during points. A massive new fan base showed up almost overnight, excited and loud, and clashed with those old traditions. Some fans cheered at the wrong moments. A small number got disruptive. That created real tension at tournaments, but it says almost nothing about Alex herself. She cannot control every person holding a Philippine flag in the stands, yet online, the player and the crowd get blended into one target. Now here is the part that changes everything, and it is the part most people miss completely. Some of the hate directed at Alex was never even real. App fact checkers investigated viral posts claiming that public figures insulted her.